Hi guys. I know I'm a little bit early, but I wanted to make sure it worked. I don't think anyone's here yet. Where do I see that? I'm just gonna hang if you're out there until around 5. Yay! Hi Karen. Hi Katie. I don't even know how to tell how many. Oh, up there. 3 people are watching. Hi guys. So fun. Thanks for saying hi. If you're signing on and want to introduce yourself, if I don't know you, you're welcome to. I'd love to hear from you. So I'm going to wait till about like 5:03, give people a couple minutes, and then we'll go from there. So fun. Trying to think of something to talk about. Katie, you had so many fun things to talk about before yours. But, oh my God, I did kick my boyfriend out of the house. I was like, you have to go to the gym because I do not want you behind the screen watching me do this. Oh, no way. He made me promise he could watch it after, though, so I told him that'd be allowed. So we'll see. But now we can talk about him behind his back because he's not here. Yeah. Oh, thank God. 5:01. It's like the longest 5 minutes of my life waiting to go live. 7 people. Yes, this is so fun. Again, if you're just logging on and I don't know you, you're welcome to throw a comment in and say hi. I'm super excited about this. Goal setting is like something I get super amped about. So I'm going to try and keep it on the shorter side, but I tend to really fall in love with what I'm talking about and just go, go, go. 8 people. Give people a couple more minutes. Turn this light on a little bit brighter. It gets dark so early now, especially in a snowstorm. All those faces coming across the bottom. All right, I'm going to wait like 30 more seconds and then I'm going to start. All right. You know what? We're just going to do it. There are 11 of you. I love it. Okay, 12. Okay. So, hi, I'm Allie. I'm one of our newer coaches. I found Working Against Gravity actually listening to a Brute Strength podcast. He had a D on there and she was talking about working against gravity and like her vision for the company and for her coaches and the culture. And I was like, this is something I have to be a part of. Because I am one of the newer coaches, this is my first Facebook Live, so I'm slightly nervous, so you're just going to have to bear with me as I kind of like get in a groove with it. I do have some notes, so if I kind of trail off for a hot second, I'm trying to catch my spot because I tend to kind of get excited and talk and then lose my spot. So, and I want to make sure I touch on everything. So, oh, you're from Burlington too? Katie, how did I not know that? Okay, well, when you come visit, you have to come say hi. Message me. Okay, back on track. That's so exciting. I didn't know how many Vermonters there were. So again, I found WAG listening to a Brute Strength podcast and like fell in love with the vision of the company. And like because I'm a big CrossFitter and I coach CrossFit 5 mornings a week, it kind of and I've always been really interested in learning about nutrition. I studied nutrition undergrad along with English, so it kind of was a perfect fit for where I was in my life. And I very quickly decided that coaching was like in my goals. And went after that pretty hardcore, and so here I am. I can pretty like truly and honestly tell you that if it wasn't for a goal setting kind of like session, that's what I'm going to call it, like this, I probably wouldn't be sitting here in front of you talking to you as a Working Against Gravity coach. So I am super passionate about goal setting. I think it's a complete game changer when it comes to like taking control of your life and being the author of your own story. So the way I'm kind of doing this is it's going to be a goal setting like practice. And I call it a practice because goal setting is kind of or not kind of, it is just like counting your macros or learning to snatch or learning to power lift or learning an instrument. It's something you have to practice to get good at it and to get comfortable with it, because it can be a little bit nerve-wracking and uncomfortable at first. I know we've been throwing a lot of goal setting stuff at you recently. So some of these ideas are going to sound familiar. Some might be just worded a little bit differently. But this is all really important stuff, especially at the beginning of the year. If you're into the New Year's resolution thing, which so many people are, because it's a great time to kind of reflect on the past year and set some intentions for yourself for the future. So, and 2018 and what's coming for you. So, the way this is going to work, I have some like steps to this. And if you have a pencil and paper or like a journal or anything, and you have the ability to kind of write as you do this, hi Brittany, please do, because it's going to be really, really informative. And the great thing about Facebook Live and coming back and watching this is that you can pause me. Hopefully I'm not like making a horrible face when you do, and kind of like reflect and write things down and then push play when you're ready to go again. Or you can come back and watch this again and kind of answer those questions, the questions that I'm going to be asking you through this. So, again, goal setting, it's a practice. And I think that one of the things that people get really, really bogged down in when they're goal setting is that they feel like anything they write down is written in stone. And so going into this, there are a couple promises I want you to make me. The first one is that you write down whatever comes up for you, no matter what you're thinking about it. So passing the, like, kind of letting those things pass with no judgment, speaking to yourself with kindness, and just writing down what you're coming up with, knowing that you can change these things. The things that you come up with today or the goals that you set right now or tomorrow don't have to be the same things that you want, like even a week from now or 4 months from now. Those things can change, but the way that we're going to do this is going to kind of keep the things that are the most important to you top of mind. So I would be surprised if they change that much. So I'm super excited about this. You have to make me a promise that you're going to kind of go into this with an open mind. And we're going to kind of dive into it. So we are going to start by talking about possibility and defining what you want in your life for yourself. I call this kind of, this part of it, the circle. And after that, we're going to go on and talk about defining your core values, aka the main thing. So those are our two pieces so far, the circle and the main thing. And then we're going to talk about visualization and the power of imagining yourself living like your most fulfilled life. So the life that you wake up and you can't wait to live every single morning. And I call this part the question mark. And then at the end, we're going to chat about how to really nail down what's most important to you using those core values. And then you're going to walk away from this with like some very actionable things that you can get after tonight to kind of get you towards your vision for your life. And that's called the trickle back. So we're going to start with the circle. So if you have a journal or a piece of paper, I want you to write the circle on the top and then draw a circle. That's why it's called that, in the middle, and write I want on the inside. So we're going to start by talking about possibility, because when we are setting goals, we want to be setting goals from a place of possibility. Maybe for you, possibility means self-efficacy, and that's something we talk about a lot. It's that idea or that belief in yourself that you are like the author of your own story and that you have the ability to transform your life. Maybe for you, possibility is the kind of kindness that you show yourself when things aren't going your way or when things don't go exactly as you planned. Or maybe possibility is learning from every experience you have. And that's something, if you are one of my clients, you hear all the time that if like it's a learning experience and if you can learn something from whatever happened, it is a major win. Ooh, I'm getting lots of like smiley faces for that one. So everyone must agree with me that if you can take anything and turn it into a learning experience, it's a win. So maybe if we're going to like keep it close to home, since it's the beginning of 2018, maybe the 2017 holidays like didn't quite go as you planned and you went into it being like, I'm going to crush it, macros every single day, it's going to be perfect. And your check-in with your coach the next week was like, so didn't quite go that way. What should I do? And if you're moving forwards from a place of learning, then that means that 2018 holidays are going to be like that much better. So again, possibility, kind of learning from every experience you have and moving forward in kindness. And then before we get into that circle, the other thing I want to talk about is the limitations that you put on yourself and kind of tuning into that voice in your head. So maybe like It's money, maybe it's resources, maybe it's time, maybe it's experience. So some examples, like I really want to meal prep, but I have a really late shift tonight. Or I really want to hit my macros tomorrow, but I have a fancy work dinner. I want to go on a family trip, but I can't afford it right now. So when we use that word but, we're automatically making everything in front of that but impossible. So if we're saying like, I want to do this, but that, we're automatically like ruling everything out because we've come up with this reason why it just can't happen, right? And that's not setting goals or living in a place of possibility. But that's funny. If we replace the word but with the word and, we're automatically in problem solving, goal setting mode. So to go back to those examples, I really want to meal prep and I have a late shift tonight. So when can I either find a different time to meal prep? How can I simplify my meal prep so it's a little bit easier? How can I do something now to make my meal prep later easier? So like meal prepping for your meal prep. I really want to hit my macros and I have a fancy dinner tonight or tomorrow night. So who do I have to call to find out what's on the menu? I'm going on vacation and I can't afford it right now. So maybe I put 20% of each paycheck away to kind of like save up over time, and then I can go on this big family vacation. So when we're in problem setting or problem solving and goal setting mode, we're coming from a place of possibility, and we're much more likely to stay motivated and excited about all the things that we want to get up to in our lives and the kinds of things that inspire us. So circle exercise. So you're going to draw that circle, and in the middle, you're going to write, I want. And then in the middle of the circle, I want you to write all the things you do want in your life. So try to take all of those constraints, all of those but sentences out of it, and just write them down. So these can be feelings or they can be concrete goals, but no matter what, I want you to practice getting super specific with them. So instead of just writing like, joy, I want joy in my life. That is an amazing thing to want in your life. Sarah, if you're watching, that one was inspired by you. I know that's like your goal in 2018. So for joy, what if it was something like, I want to feel joy every morning when I wake up and every night when I go to sleep. So that's still taking that same thing that you want and it's turning it into something that we can make a more actionable item or a more actionable goal. So, or another example. So if you want a dog, great. Join the club. Everyone wants a dog. I want a dog. All that fun stuff. So what kind of dog do you want? How old is the dog that you're going to get? Are you rescuing it? If you're rescuing it, where are you rescuing where are you rescuing your dog from? Is it a puppy? If it is, who do you need to call to kind of to get your name on like a litter list or whatever? So like really digging into what's going to make these goals more actionable and making them more specific. If you want to hit your macros more consistently, how many times are you hitting your macros right now? What would more consistently look like? Maybe you were setting a goal to hit them during the week, that kind of stuff. So as you're writing down the things that you want in your life, and again, they can be those bigger, broader things, but I do want you to focus and practice getting as specific as you can and really nailing down those things so you can start to really imagine and visualize yourself doing these things. And this is when, if you are tuning in later or you have decided that you're going to pause and like take the time to actually write things down in the middle of this before I move on, you can pause the video and then kind of pick it back up, or you can keep listening and then come back because we are going to move on to the next piece of this. So now you have this whole list of the things that you want in your life. And so now we're going to talk about the main thing. So this part was kind of inspired by Stephen Covey. He wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and I can throw a link in that to that book because it is a game changer. And he said the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And I know how simple that is, but it was mind blowing the first time I heard it. I was like, oh, duh. Obviously the main thing is keeping the main thing the main thing. Oh, my UPS guy just got here. Sorry. But it has literally changed my life. So how do you know what the main thing is? Like, that's the big question, right? That's like one of life's biggest questions. What's the most important thing? What am I doing here, right? So what is your main thing? And that can be different for different people at different times in your life. So again, coming back to like goal setting and goals themselves are fluid. Like this, your main thing right now in this point in your life does not have to be the same thing as the main thing later in your life. Like I don't have kids right now. Kids are not even like, yes, I want them one day, but that is not my main thing right now. But if you are a mom, like that is going to be one of your main things. So, and that will be one of my main things in however many years. So again, coming back to this and remembering that this is a practice and an ongoing thing is really, really important. This is also important for us, especially at Working Against Gravity, where we've decided that we want to take our nutrition and our lifestyle into our own hands, but we also want to find that balance between like having fun with our friends and making choices that might be harder to fit into our macros for the day, or balancing those days when maybe we're not worrying too much about hitting our macros, but we're still being mindful about what we're eating. So using your core values as kind of your like North Star. And again, people who've worked with me, you'll hear that one from me a lot, and they're like, oh, she's going with that North Star thing again. But if you can use your core values as your North Star when you're making decisions, you're going to be able to be really, really happy in making and know that you're always tracking towards your goals. So your core values, getting clear on your core values will help you define who you are and what's truly important to you. And really boiling this down starts with happiness. And I actually heard this fact today, and it blew my mind, and I was like, could not be more perfect, that when it comes to happiness, 50% of your happiness is defined or is controlled by your genes. So like what color hair you have, what color eyes you have, what your voice sounds like, all those things that you can't really change, like unless you dye your hair, but 50% is genes. 10% is your like life situation. So like what you were, like the community you were born into, like the culture you were born into, like if you win the lottery, like random stuff out of your, like other things that are out of your control like that. And then the rest, or the remaining 40% is intentional activity. So 40% of your happiness is defined and controlled by the things that you do every single day to invite happiness into your life. And when you're acting in line with your core values, you can think about them as these like happiness fountains in your life, or these bucket fillers. So I really like to think about like every like thing I do each day, person I talk to each day, anything that like I choose to spend my time on during the day as either a bucket filler or a bucket dipper. And if it's a bucket filler, it's something that like fills my soul, and I leave that situation or that conversation or that workout or whatever feeling really, really good and fulfilled. Or bucket dippers that feel like you expended more energy, not like literal energy, because obviously you're like more tired at the end of a workout, hopefully, but like you're feeling a little bit empty, or a little bit like you're just kind of like missing that like soul piece of like connection. So if you can start defining these things in your life that are either bucket fillers or bucket dippers, and you kind of gravitate and slowly try to weed out those bucket dippers as much as possible, you will find that you are living closer to your core values. And if you can make every, or at least like a majority of the decisions in your life in harmony with your core values, you'll end up where you want to go, or you'll end up in a place where you're really happy, even if it isn't where you thought you were going to end up. Like if you had told me that I would be here at 5:17 on a Friday night, not that it's Friday, but just a Friday night, like talking to people about goal setting 3 years ago, I would have been like, you're crazy. So, but I like could not be happier. So again, if you're constantly making decisions and doing the best you can and like living your life from a happy, like kind place, and you're fulfilling your buckets, you will end up where you're supposed to be. I truly believe that. So the next question is, what's the blueprint and the framework of your life? So on your piece of paper, I want you to write the fountains in my life are, and then if you want to add a little spot underneath for like the, you can answer this question in this piece too, but what's the blueprint and the framework of your life? So an example of this, so my boyfriend and I just bought a house, and he is doing all of the renovations over there. And so he's really focused on like what the flooring is going to look like, where, like what walls we're tearing down, what walls we're putting up, all the things that are going to like turn this house into, like hold the house up, right? And I'm over here being like, oh, this is going to be so cute in the kitchen. Oh my God, this rug's going to be perfect in the, like the bathroom. Oh my gosh, what's this couch going to look like? This is the like perfect lamp for the like counter we don't even have yet, right? So I'm focusing on all these little things, but he's doing it right. He's focusing on the blueprint of the house, these things that are going to hold the house up and like actually be the framework for the house. And your core values are like that. They're like the framework of your life. They are the things that hold your life together and keep your life in that really awesome, like upright position. So starting to dig into your core values and like and what the blueprint of your life is and the supporting pieces of your life is going to be a game changer. And after you've identified these main things, you can use them to create your core values. So maybe it's your partner, maybe it's your kids, maybe it's your nutrition, your spirituality, or your faith. Maybe it's your sport, like if you're an Olympic lifter or a soccer player or a CrossFitter or a hiker or anything like that. Maybe it's your instrument, maybe it's your hobby, like if you're really into photography, it can be any of these things. And then you can think through these things that are most important to you and start noticing the patterns in your life that you can use to create your core values. So here's an example. I'll use some of the stuff that I find most important in my life. And a lot of them are pretty like obvious things, but then you can kind of boil it down. So my relationships with my friends and my family, my health and my fitness, and then my relationship with myself. Those are like the three things that I identified as like the things that keep my house up. So my relationship with my friends and my family shows up in my life as me being present in my relationships. So this means putting my computer away, putting my phone away, asking questions, listening to people when they're speaking, and setting boundaries when it comes to like work-life balance. So it's always a work in progress. I am not great at it yet. God, no. So far to go, but I'm definitely getting better. And so then my next one is my health and my fitness. So that shows up as finding a balance between my training and my recovery. My coach, Courtney, is probably like going to listen to this and be like, she's still working on that one too, because I get it. Some workouts are fun and you don't want to skip them. And then finding a balance between consistency and flexibility with my macros. So not giving myself a hard time if I want to put my MyFitnessPal away for a night and really just be more mindful and just unwind and really be there with my friends and my family, or not beat myself up about it and still know that I'm tracking towards my goals. And then my last one is my relationship with myself, which for me shows up as self-care and being present with myself, and like getting after some self-care activities, which for me means like getting outside, hearing my feet in the ground. Like if I can hear myself walking, I feel very, very present. So like I try to go for a walk every day for 10 minutes without listening to like music or podcasts or anything that I feel like I should or could be doing. And I literally just listen to myself breathe and walk and breathe in all the nice cold Vermont -10 air. And then it also shows up as unwavering kindness to myself, no matter what situation I'm in. So always speaking kind words. So then if I go back and look at those relationships and the things that hold my house up, the three big things that come up for me as my core values are some like balance, some kind of balance in my life, whether it's my relationship with other people, my relationship with myself, my relationship with work, connection and authenticity, and then what I like to call relative perfectionism, because I am definitely coming from a more perfectionist lifestyle and mindset, but I've learned that if I can wake up and go to bed promising myself and then being able to say, yes, I did that, to give 100% of what I have to give every single day, it's a win. So 100% today might look really different than what 100% yesterday looks like, or yesterday looked like, and what 100% tomorrow looks like, because life happens. Like we've all been there. You get sick, or you get a call in the middle of the night that like your friend needs your help with something, or like all these crazy things happen. And so if you are giving 100% of what you have to give that day, so that's where the relative comes from, and you can go to bed being like, I did my best today, that's a win. And so that's one of my core values. So those are like the three things that I can pick out from looking at the things that like hold my life up. So again, find those big supporting things in your life, define them, and then figure out how you act in those situations with those people when you're feeling the most fulfilled. And that's where you're going to be able to pull your core values. or what you're going to be able to pull your core values from. So again, these are going to help you with your decision making. So they're going to be that North Star when you're kind of making these big decisions. So some examples of that. You get home late from work and you have 20 emails you still have to answer. None of them are like majorly important, like building burning down, but tomorrow would be a little bit easier if you answered some of them tonight. But one of your core values is that authentic communication and connection with your family. So what do? You put your computer away, right? You don't answer those emails. You know they're going to be there tomorrow. You're going back to work. This is the only time you have with your family. That's one of your core values. That's the decision you make. No questions asked. And you will be happier for that. Maybe you're a bit tired today and you have a training session scheduled and your mind's just not in it. What do? You take a deep breath. You remind yourself that the gym is important to you, even if it's going to take a little bit more energy to get there right now. And then you drive to the gym. You get there. Or on the flip side, your gym has a super fun workout. You're really excited about it. Your body really needs a rest day. It was a scheduled rest day. What do? Right? You remind yourself that the weights will be there tomorrow. The workout's not going anywhere. And if you really want to do it, great. You can do it tomorrow. Get after some ROMWOD today. So you can use those things as that guiding light. Maybe your mom cooked Christmas dinner and like watching people enjoy this dinner is like all she asked for Christmas. Like literally no one gets her anything for Christmas because that's all she wants for Christmas. But it probably won't fit your macros. What do? Right? If family and like that relationship with your mom and it's just going to make her so happy, if that is like your core value in that moment, maybe you see that coming a week in advance. You really crush your macros through the week so that you have this one meal where if you're not like right on it, it's not going to be a big deal, right? Control what you can, cope with what you can't. Maybe that's what you do and you plan ahead for it. And then you really just like let go and enjoy knowing that one meal is not the end of the world, right? So you can use these core values in these moments where you're like, oh my God, what do I do? And as long as you're acting in line with those core values, you will like be tracking towards your goals no matter what they are. So some core value rules. These are fun. They have to reflect where you are now because you are going to need them in those moments when motivation is low. And if you haven't listened to Adi's Facebook Live from last week about motivation, get on it because that thing is awesome. One of my favorite things she said that I'm just going to like kind of like paraphrase and repeat is that when we're feeling unmotivated, we start questioning whether or not our goals are important to us. And we start thinking things like, well, if I'm not motivated right now, maybe that goal is not that important to me. Or like, maybe I set the wrong goal because I just don't want to do it right now, which is like the biggest lie you can tell yourself because that's not true. It's super natural to go through these like ebbs and flows of motivation. And it doesn't mean that you didn't set the right goal. It just means that maybe you need to like jumpstart your motivation a little bit. Like I am a CrossFit junkie and there are some days where it takes like I have to move heaven and earth to get myself to go to the gym when I know that I should be there, right? Or maybe there are days where I just like get tired and I just don't want to put something else on a food scale, but it's so like I know how good I feel when I know what I'm putting in my body. So I just take a deep breath and I muster up a little extra energy and I drink a big glass of water and then I start making dinner and I put things on my food scale, So getting sick or getting overtired or like cold weather, like I know a lot of us are feeling that right now, or lots of social events and celebrations, like these things can come up and they can make it hard to stay motivated or start asking yourself like if these things are still important to you. But I promise that they are, and that if you're setting core values true to where you are now, not like where you want to be, not like I want to be, like an example, this is for me, like core value of patience would be I wish that was one of my core values, but I am still working on the whole patience thing. And so I know that that's not something that I would stay true to in a moment of like complete panic. But I do know that like if I'm connecting back to my core values in a moment of complete panic, I would be able to like dial it in and keep that balance between like work-life balance, like that kind of stuff. So again, motivation, it's going to come and go. And so if you are creating values, core values and goals surrounded or based off your core values, then they will still be there for you when your motivation is low. And then it will also allow you to say things to yourself, which is such a game changer. Like, I am the kind of person that, or I'm the kind of person who. So if those friendships and that connection is something that's important to you, you can say for a fact, I am the kind of person that shows up for a friend when they need me. Or I'm the kind of person that pushes through a tough training session even if my mind isn't in it. or I'm the kind of person that plans my meals ahead of time because I know it's the best way to hit my targets by the end of the day. So if you can do those things while you're setting your core values, they're going to be that much stronger. Cool. So that's the main thing. So now we're going to move on to the next piece, which is the question mark. So this is my favorite part of the whole entire thing. And you're going to have to bear with me a little bit because this might be a little funny, especially if you're like sitting in a room by yourself looking at your computer. But this is actually a visualization exercise. So if you feel comfortable closing your eyes, I would love for you to close your eyes, or you can like watch me slowly read these questions because I'm going to slow it down a little bit. So close your eyes and think about your life 5 years from right now. So 5 years is 260 weeks, and it's 1,825 days from right now. If time, money, education, experience, all of those things were no issue, and you had no constraints in the world, what would you do? What does it feel like to live every moment of your life? What does a day in your ideal life look like? What are your core values? What's the most important thing to you? Where do you live? What type of home do you have? What does your community feel like? Who's there with you? Do you have any children? Do you have pets? Do you have plants? Do you work? Where do you work from? An office? Your home? A coffee shop? The beach? Do you go to school? Do you travel? Where do you travel and who do you travel with? What type of lifestyle do you have? Do you hike? Do you CrossFit? Do you weightlift? Do you do yoga? Do you run marathons? Do you run Spartan races? Do you paddleboard on the lake? Are you counting your macros every day? Do you count them once or twice a week? Are you in tune with what your body is asking you for? What do you do for fun? What do you do to challenge your body? What do you do to challenge your mind? How do you feel in your body? Do you have a self-care practice? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What are you most grateful for? Who do you really want to be? What do you really want to have? Where do you really want to be? Where do you really want to go? So this is when you open your eyes, if you close them, and when it's really, really important to write down anything that came up for you, especially if it was surprising and you were like, where the heck did that come from? So on your piece of paper, the question mark, you can write down all of your notes for what you thought of on the top. This is another good place to like pause and write so that you can remember everything. You can also go back and listen to my amazing voice asking those questions over and over and over again. If you forgot any, or if you want to do that again at any point. But again, anything that came up for you, even if it's surprising. So let these things flow through you. And like Coach Ashley always says, confront yourself in kindness and acceptance. And remember that anything you write down now isn't set in stone. You can come back and switch it around. You can erase it, cross it out, add to it, whatever you need to do. So we are going to move on to the last piece, the trickle back. So after you answer those questions, what I would recommend doing is kind of taking a second to write a 5-year vision for yourself. So this can be like the core values you have in 5 years, or like literally a day in life. So like I wake up and this is what I do for a day and this is how I feel while I'm doing it, or just kind of like bullet points, whatever works for you. So the trickle back. After you have that 5-year vision, you are going to pick out a few different pieces of it that fall underneath your core values. And I would be surprised if there was anything in your vision that like really didn't fall into any of those. And you can usually kind of like manipulate them to fit, or ask yourself questions about that goal to get back to your why that is a goal for you, and it will probably connect to one of your core values. If you want help with that, if you throw your goal in the comments, I know that might be a little scary. I will help you trickle it back and like kind of go back to how that could connect to a core value, because I love this stuff and I love asking people like really, really deep questions. So some different ways this could kind of like manifest itself. So maybe for that question, do you CrossFit? You like, yes, I CrossFit and I'm qualifying for CrossFit regionals in 5 years. Do you hike? Yes, I'm totally a hiker. I'm going to hike 11 peaks by like 5 years from now. So I think that's 2023. Like that travel question, where do you travel? Maybe you travel to a different place in the Caribbean with your family every 2 years, every 3 years. I don't know. Where do you want to be? Maybe where you want to be in 5 years is instilling positive food relationships with your children. And then you can think about how all of these things could be trickled back to things you could be doing right now, right? So I'm going to safely assume that we're going to do this together with like an example. So I'm going to safely assume that most of you watching have a core value that has something to do with like health, fitness, body composition, or like body composition, performance, like changes, all that kind of stuff. I think it's a pretty safe assumption. So maybe you answered the question, how do you feel in your body? I love that question. With something like, I feel proud of the hard work I've put into learning what my body truly needs to thrive, and I've lost 20 pounds of fat in 5 years, which is a great and super attainable goal. So thinking about that statement, you have to pick what the goal would be. So the two big things that I can pick out of that statement: I feel proud of the hard work I put into learning what my body needs to thrive, and I've lost 20 pounds of fat, would be some kind of like learning that's gone on about like intuitive eating and knowing what your body truly needs. And then that 20 pounds of fat loss. So from there, we need to trickle it back. So at the beginning of the year, this is like perfect for right now. So at the beginning of the year, when we're setting all of these New Year's resolutions, we have so much momentum behind us. We're like, hell yeah. Like, I'm crushing it. I am the most dedicated person in the room. I'm going to go to the gym 5 times a week all year long, and it's going to be great. I know I made that resolution last year and it didn't happen, but like this year is totally my year. That's amazing. Like if you can do that with no other work and you can get to the gym 5 times a week for the rest of the year, like all the power to you. That's amazing. But life happens, right? And we need to be ready for when things don't go perfectly, when you get really sick and literally should not go to the gym for a week, or when you go on vacation, or when like something happens and you're out of town for a couple weeks, or like something like that, right? So there's got to be some kind of marriage between where you are right now, where you want to be in 5 years. Otherwise, everyone would be crushing New Year's resolutions like all year long, right? So if you can remember what Adi said in her Facebook Live last Friday and in her Facebook Live on the public group last night, only 8% of people who are setting New Year's resolutions are actually achieving those New Year's resolutions. So that means that there's got to be some disconnect, something that's happening between like now and those goals you're setting. There's got to be some kind of piece missing, and the piece that's missing is that trickle back. So you need to look at your 5-year goals, or those things that you picked out, and trickle them back to things you can do like today, right? When I say, okay, bye guys, this is over, great talk, you can close your computer and actually go get after something. So, example, you want to lose 20 pounds in a healthy, sustainable way that teaches you about your body in the long run by 2023. So that's 5 years from now. So where do you have to be 1 year from now to be tracking towards that 5-year goal? So the obvious answer would be like, I need to have lost 10 pounds in one, or like whatever number, like if you were to like divide that number, I don't know. But that's too easy, right? So what kinds of actions embody someone who's losing 20 pounds in a healthy, sustainable way that's keeping them feeling motivated and like excited at the same time, right? So those are the kinds of questions you need to ask yourself. So maybe a year from now, if that was your 5-year goal, it is your 1 year goal to be in the alumni program for Working Against Gravity, which means you've had at least 6 months of consecutive check-ins with your coach once a week. You're absolutely crushing the macro game. You're handling social situations like a pro. You're like ready for like anything that life throws at you. Your coach is still there for you, but you're just like pretty much like rocking it, right? So that's where you want to be in 1 year. So if that's where you want to be in 1 year, where do you need to be in 6 months, right? So if you need to be rocking the alumni program in 1 year, that means that you probably want to be pretty confident navigating social situations and hitting your targets every time you go out to eat in 6 months, right? Like that's a pretty good, if you're going to be like really kind of just going it and crushing it in a year, you want to like have that coach there once a week to really like keep you in check, but you can kind of handle it on your own at the same time. Maybe also in 6 months, you're planning every meal into MyFitnessPal, like every meal ahead of time, 6 times a week, right? That would be like a pretty solid, I got a ton of consistency under my, like behind me, and I am like really getting comfortable in social situations, but I'm not quite ready for that like full blown once a month check-in, right? So then maybe in 1 month, if that's where you were going to be in 6 months, you need to have gotten through a couple weekends, like hitting your macros, because we all know that weekends, the first couple times you're counting your macros are a little bit scary. You're like, okay, well, during the week, it's easy to stay in my routine. And then I hit the weekend and I don't know what to do. Right. And getting through a weekend the first time, you're like, I am the champ. I can take on anything. You wake up on Monday, you're not hitting that restart button, and you get like addicted to that feeling where you don't feel like you need to start over, and you're like killing it. Right. So maybe in order to, in 6 months, be super confident navigating the social situations, in 1 month, you need to have gone through like 2 or 3 weekends crushing your macros so that you know that you have the ability, that self-efficacy we talked about, to handle social situations the best way you know how. And maybe if 6 months from now, you're planning every meal into MyFitnessPal 6 times a week, maybe in a month, you're planning like breakfast and dinner, because your 2 favorite meals, and lunch is just kind of like in the middle of the day, during the week. So you have those 5 weekdays where you're in that routine. You've like committed yourself to tracking your breakfast and your dinner ahead of time through the week. And then that's going to then let you build to that 6 times a week, every single meal. See how it's kind of like building on itself? So if that's where you want to be in 1 month, where do you need to be in a week? So maybe in order to get through a weekend of having a couple, like going out to dinner a couple times, but still hitting your macros, you need to be really confident with your estimation skills. So maybe this week you're playing that guess how much it weighs every time you put it on the scale game. So every time you put your food on the food scale, you are, you're guessing how much it weighs before you look at the numbers, so that you can really dial in that estimation. So maybe that's what you're getting up to this week. Maybe that's your actionable goal this week. And so then maybe if you are planning breakfast and dinner ahead of time in MyFitnessPal a month from now, you're planning protein into your day ahead of time this week. So maybe protein's the goal this week, and putting everything on the food scale and guessing before you actually see what it weighs, right? So that's what you're doing in a week. So then what can you do tomorrow? How can you boil it down even more? How can you trickle it back even more? So tomorrow you're going grocery shopping for food, for meal prep, and you're throwing away, or putting away if you don't want to throw them away. You're measuring cups and spoons to remind yourself that you're putting everything on a food scale and guessing next week or this week, right? So then if that's what you're doing tomorrow, what are you doing in 5 minutes? I promise I'm almost done. Tonight, or whenever you watch this, what are you doing to make tomorrow possible? You're probably checking out the WAG blog, looking for how to keep your meal prep feeling really, really fresh articles. You're probably creating a shopping list, and maybe you're looking at your schedule for the day tomorrow and figuring out when you'll be able to fit a grocery store run in. So maybe if you were planning on training after work, but you can actually do it before work, so you can go grocery shopping after work, or maybe you're enrolling someone in your life. So maybe you're asking your partner, hey, can you watch the kids for a couple hours at night? I need to run to the grocery store to get my meal prep stuff. So that is literally what you could do tonight to then get to that goal tomorrow, and then 1 week, and then 6 months, and then 1 year, and then 5 years. So you can see these things in your life right now that are actionably getting to, I don't know if that's how you use that, if you can use that word that way, but I like it, getting you to those goals Because again, I totally get that, like, that 5-year goal, it sounds really great right now when you said it at the beginning of the year, but then maybe even like a week from now, you're like, I just don't really see how, like, what I'm doing right now is connecting to that. So if you can really boil those things down and see the connections from day to day, to week to month to year, all of that, you're going to feel a lot more motivated. And really excited, like, through your whole journey. And again, like I said, like, motivation's not going to be there all the time, and you can go back and watch these video about that one, because that's a whole different ball game. But that is kind of like my favorite way to goal set, and I really hope that you guys got some stuff out of that. So what I think would be really, really cool, if everyone's down, would be to kind of do this for yourself if you need to go back through at some point, and then put in the comments what you're going to get up to, like, right now, or maybe tomorrow if that's when you watch it or whatever, to start getting you to these 5-year goals or even 10-year goals. Like, you can do this, like, all the way, however long into the future you want to. But I think that's it. I feel like I'm going to exit out and be like, oh, I forgot to say this, but I think I'm going to call it good. Does anyone have any, like, questions or anything? Did anyone leave anything? If you do, please, like, shoot me a message real quick. 3, 2, 1. I don't want to miss anyone. Okay. Well, if you do, I'm going to keep coming and checking back to it. But I hope you guys enjoyed that. Definitely do that visualization exercise over and over and over again. And add your little comments about what you're going to do the second I push finish over here. All right. Have a good Friday, guys. Thanks so much. Bye.